Namgiakhona, the podcast inspiring entrepreneurials in South Africa. Because if it's going to be, it's up to me.
Resilience is a critical characteristic to have as an entrepreneur. We really focused on the how as opposed to the why, because at the end of the day, entrepreneurship is a marathon. It's not a sprint.
Sesibuyile, we are back, bangani zimpintshi zethu to Namgiakhona, where we know that if it's going to be, it is up to me. And very excited to always be bringing you top thinkers, trailblazers, and inspiring young people for us to learn from and connect with here at Namgiakhona. And from me, your host, welcome once again, and very happy as well to introduce to you our guest for today, Velani Mboweni. Velani, sir, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Sanbonani Nonke, Absheni, Kuyamora. Good morning, good afternoon. The South African lunch.
Yeah, we've got a lot of learning languages and diversity to do, but yourself as well. Your background also very diverse, but at least now you've been focusing on the business LULA, where you are co-founder, which is a company that's connecting, companies and commuters, so that people in communities can share rides with people that they trust. Maybe there's been many challenges and you've had to overcome and you've had to bear it through, very difficult times and be resilient in a sense. Would you say, as a characteristic, this is something that you've experienced, and how have you experienced it? What is important about resilience for you, and what does resilient mean for you?
Yeah, that's a very, very important question to ask, because as many people would say, resilience is a critical characteristic to have as an entrepreneur. For me, resilience is a number of things. The first is not giving up. Because it's easy when someone says, this idea of yours is not going to work, put it to the side, and then you just take their word for it and you do it. It's another thing when you obsess over the problem so much that no matter what anyone tells you, you still pursue it. In fact, I have that lived example in two stages of my life. In the initial days of starting LULA, we thought that we should just connect public transport together. So take your taxi, your bus, your train, put it on a platform and work. That was very, very hard, and it did not work. But the problem remained the same. So we changed the how from what we're trying to solve, from the why. Like really emphasizing the why.
So why is resilience important as an entrepreneur, and what does it mean for you? What happened in your journeys where, you had to be resilient to stick it through?
Yeah, sure. So resilience for me is summed up in a number of aspects. The first is not giving up. So we tried to solve this problem about accessibility to transport in emerging markets a number of times. And the first time we tried it, we really focused on the how as opposed to the why. And that how failed. So we pivoted to focusing on how we're doing it now. And that has been successful, or it's moving forward in the grand scheme of things. But we then obviously had COVID, right? So taking people to work and back was a great idea before work from home was a new normal. And we even had investors who said they were going to invest in the business pull out because they thought work from home will be the new normal. So this LULA thing is dead in its tracks. And despite that, we still continued. We still pressed on. We still believed in solving this problem. And by the grace of God, we've managed to raise even more money during the pandemic than we did beforehand. So resilience means even when it seems impossible, even when supposed experts are telling you it's not going to work, you still have to push through with some reasonable sense of sanity and good judgment. The other aspect of resilience is actually taking time to recover. right? Taking time to rest. Because the problem is a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of media that we read about talks about, working 80-hour weeks, not sleeping, you know, they talk about all these things that make you seem like you're a machine. But at the end of the day, it's humans who solve problems, right? Even if they require machines to intervene, humans solve problems. So you have to, take care of yourself as a form of resilience. You have to rest and recover. There's a good saying that says, a good harvest, a good field that rests produces a good harvest. So, when you're farming emapulazini, and you're planting, whether it's umbila or mangoes, you can't keep planting on that field and not letting it recover. You can't take all the fruits and not let it recover. So there has to be a time where winter season and summer season, the field takes a rest, recovers, and then starts producing again. And I think those are two aspects of resilience: being able to push on, persevere, even when it seems impossible, and being able to rest and recover on this journey. Because at the end of the day, entrepreneurship is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's a 1,200-meter lap around the track, not a 100-meter sprint. So that's my take on resilience.
For you, when it comes to being resilient and reminding yourself of your love for why you're doing this, what does it mean to love your people? What does it mean to want to serve people? Where did that characteristic for you come from?
Yeah, so I think a lot of it came from the environment I was exposed to growing up. My mom and dad, my dad was a doctor, my mom was a teacher before they ventured into business. So from a very, very early age, we saw our parents, giving to us as children, but every point in time in their day, they had to go focus on other people. My dad would have to go and, take care of his patients. My mom would take care of her students. When it was time to play or watch TV with mom, she'd be marking school assignments. When I wanted my dad to come to, my soccer games, he'd be, working on patients. So we were always aware that life wasn't always going to be about us, but it was going to be about other people. And what we did see is the value that brought to their lives. There's something incredibly beautiful when someone who is sick and, fighting for their life recovers because of the work that a doctor does, and they come back and say, thank you, because of you, my life can now be fulfilled and more rewarding. It's something incredibly rewarding when a teacher helps a student who is struggling with math or physics, and that student becomes a scientist or gets a really top job at a bank because of the value that servant leaders provide in society. So I had been convicted from a long time that life was never going to be about me. Life was always going to be about making this beautiful environment and country that we live in a better place for as many people as possible. And so that's where the altruism comes from. That's where being able to serve comes from. And it also is quite ingrained in my faith. My faith, being a Christian, speaks about, the least of these is the greatest of these, and the least of these is the one who serves. So that's where it comes from.
It's so interesting, Velani. I really love what you're saying, because you're saying you were ingrained when you were young that it's more than you, and it's about serving others and serving your community, and you love serving so much that you've dedicated your life to change decisions from wanting being an engineer, and completely dedicated your life to this journey. And actually, even though you've given so much, you've been recognized by companies, by global startup awards, by by various, even universities, and you're growing your business, and investors as well are investing in the business. And so you've gained so much, even though you are doing this to give. And I think that's an interesting, aspect of how it's not about you, but that's actually what makes you succeed. That's what makes you grow, and that's what makes you entrepreneurial. Is that something that you've seen or can reflect with? And is that something that, when now as you are doing the kind of work you do, and as you say, collaborating with others, and sharing that, and how does that impact the people that you collaborate with and work with? So one part is for you, do you recognize that? Do you believe that? And how does it affect people that you work with?
Certainly, I fully believe in this, and I think it became ever so pronounced during the national lockdown, during this COVID-19 pandemic. I could speak about two incidents. The first being, as an entrepreneur, in COVID, where you take people to work and back, that business basically shut down for a number of months. But we have, hundreds of drivers on our platform that rely on us for income. So as a entrepreneur, do I just sit down and tell people, whoops, sorry, no more? Or do I innovate? Do I think about problems?
It's not my fault.
It's not my fault. Yeah. So what I did is that call to service says that, provide opportunities for people. And we quickly realized that there was an opportunity in last mile delivery, to deliver parcels. So people who were typically moving, passengers to work and back, doubled up as delivery drivers, helping small businesses get their parcels across the cities. And that quickly grew relatively fast. And I saw that actually it's my responsibility as an entrepreneur, having trusted our partners and the partners trusting us, to give opportunity. A single driver can't go door to door selling their skill, selling their service, saying, hey, I can deliver parcels. Hey, I can deliver, your people. That is an enormous task for them. They probably don't have the resources. And so that responsibility rests on us as a platform to do the marketing, to do the customer acquisition for these partners, and scale them through. The second aspect is more on the internal side, where, President Ramaphosa announces around the 21st of March, 2020, that there will be a national shutdown, lockdown. And, we're in the middle of a funding round. Cash flow is tight. There's customers haven't paid us. And our employees are saying, yo, are we coming or going? Are we going to lose our jobs? The world is crumbling. What are we going to do? And in the midst of the storm, I decided, I don't want to cut anyone's jobs, because this too shall pass. We got to be resilient. We got to work hard, focus on what matters, and make very quick decisions to get through this pandemic. Unfortunately, no one in our company was retrenched or lost their job because of the pandemic. And that is something, I never thought in a million years that as a young man, I would have to lead a team during a pandemic. So, we managed to get out of that. We did lose some people, but not because of, COVID related, maybe just because of performance, but we stuck it through, right? And that for me is examples of, resilience, service, characteristics that help us, build trust in giving and gaining in this environment.
There you have it, folks. Let's not complain to the teachers too much. Sometimes it can feel like a lot of work, but what Velani is inspiring us to know is that it's pressure that makes diamonds. It's the pressure cooker that cooks delicious potjie kos. So we should take that pressure and chill. It's nothing compared to what's coming if you are living on your journey. And thank you so much, Velani, for inspiring us today.
Thanks so much, man. It's been a real honor and pleasure. To all the people writing their exams and all the tasks that they have ahead of themselves. I think South Africa has a lot of problems, and it starts with why. It starts with understanding the community you have, identifying the problems, and really committing your life to making it better. Because Tinas Katele, with blaming everything on apartheid or government, the solutions are inside of us, and we should not focus on what we don't have, but focus on what we do have, and make that a prosperous South Africa. Ubuntu, but Ubuntu labantu, and I think that's what we need to do as entrepreneurs in school. And so I wish everyone the best of luck, and it's been a real honor talking and sharing with you guys.
Thanks so much. You heard it, guys. If that solution is going to be, it's up to you. And from me, your host, Buntu, once again, see you next time. Thank you for joining us. Remember, if you're inspired, Comment down below. Love to hear from you. We're going to get back to you. Kulumanati, reach out to us, talk to us. We try and connect you with the guests that we have if you have a question for them as well. Till next time, thank you and bye-bye. Stay inspired and be entrepreneurial. Follow us on social media and find us on WhatsApp. Nam ngiyakhona.